What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the LFC Transfer Room YouTube channel, and we are back with another episode of Transfer Central. We are live on YouTube, and we are joined by Mr. Matty Orm. How are you, Matty? You good, mate?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Looking forward for the Reds being back. It feels like forever again since we've played. Yeah, how are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. And yeah, I agree. Before we get into all the transfer stuff and everything with it, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Get us to 2K subs by the end of January. I'm not sure that's unrealistic, mate. I reckon we may as well go for it. Go for 2K. And you'll get even more deluxe quality content every single day coming into your sub box. So I don't know why you wouldn't. But moving on, we'll start with Shrewsbury, mate. In terms of the players you expect to see tomorrow, it's going to be heavily youth, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. If we read between the lines on Peter Kravitz's press conference, it does seem like it's going to be mainly the youth team with a few of our first team thrown in, but I think it'll be very, very minimal of the first team thrown in.
Yeah, I agree. I just think with all the obviously the ruckus that the pandemic has caused, we're going to have a very limited amount. I think we might see Matip, we might see Allison potentially, but I think Queven Kelleher will probably start anyway if he's fit, and if he's available. It's a really confusing one, mate, because we don't actually know. We can't really talk about the game too much because we don't actually know who can play.
I know. That's what's annoying. Like, you can't even sit and think who might play. You might play there, because you don't know else of the kids who had COVID and stuff like that. I mean, I am excited to see some of the youngsters like Musialowski. I've never seen him play. There's meant to be a massive hype around him, so be interesting to see if he gets some minutes. But yeah, it's half annoying not knowing who's going to start until an hour before kickoff. But I don't know. Part of me likes it as well. I do like when you don't. It's just the unknown, isn't it, of who is going to get put out there.
Yeah, 100%. And as well, I think we're almost guaranteed to see Leighton Clarkson play, because he obviously got recalled from his loan from Blackburn. They sent him short. Didn't really go to plan for him, but we've all seen in his time playing in the first team that he is still a talent.
Yeah, he's really good. I think he was just unlucky at Blackburn because when he came in, they've been playing quite well. So it's a risk for them in the promotion push to put someone in who is ultimately experienced in first team football. But we have seen at Liverpool, he's been fantastic. And I just hope he doesn't fall into like the Chedu mould where it's just loan after loan after loan and goes down the pecking order, similar to Ben Woodburn as well, because he has got a lot of talent. And maybe tomorrow he can make his mark for us.
I really hope so. Hey Paul, how are you doing, fella? Yeah, if you do get your comments in, we will do our best to bring every single one of them up and interact with you guys. We'll talk more about transfers in a bit and maybe your opinion. Do you watch any of the cup games today, Matty?
I watched part of the Everton one, and I watched.
Oh, my camera's died. Happy
There
days.
was one before that I watched. I can't even think what game it was now. The one that was a bit earlier. I seen Newcastle went out, which was funny because I looked at the team and he went strong as well, and then they had Trippier playing as well. So to see them get knocked out, it brought a smile on my face, to be honest with you, because I'm all for money getting knocked out.
Absolutely. Yeah, sorry. I have my camera just died, so I'm down to my webcam now, which is a little bit frustrating, but we move. Talking more about transfer news, we see more people coming now. Excellent. Rumours Origi and Keita are potentially going to leave. We'll start with Divock Origi, Matty, a player who is subject of interest across Europe. With Serie A interested in him, a couple of teams, but he would prefer to stay in the Premier League. What's the verdict on Origi, mate?
I'd keep him if we're not bringing anyone else in. If we getting rid of Origi, I think we have to bring somebody in. Like, no question, we have to, because that is just leaving us even more short. Like, I do think Salah will be back before Mane, because I do think Senegal could probably win the AFCON. But then still you're short, and if any of them pick up an injury, it's who's next after that, really. And to be fair to Divock, this season, when he's been called upon, he's been great. I think back to like the AC Milan game, he was fantastic in that. So when he has had his chance this year, he's been fantastic. But then again, is his contract up at the end of the year? So it probably makes sense to sell him and get some money in. I know Fenerbahce are massively interested, but like you said, he wants to stay in the Premier League. So Newcastle, if anything, I would sell him to Newcastle, because you could probably say to them, look, give us 15, 20 mil, and we know where they are. Love spending money on garbage. So
Absolutely. Well, I mean, moving on with Divock, I mean, the thing with him is that he's got a clause in his contract that if he starts a certain number of games, this is that no one knows this actual amount that he needs to start, then then he will get a 1 year extension. So, I mean, he's started only 10 games this year. He's played only 10 games, started 4, started none in the Premier League. So I don't know. How likely do you think it is that Jurgen Klopp decides, you know what, we are going to start him in every game just to make sure that we keep him and we make some money?
Well, it depends. If it was like 10 games, there's a good chance he'll hit that anyway, with him having to probably play all the games now in the Premier League until our Mane and Salah are back. So he might maybe hit that. Maybe he hasn't played that much because they don't want to hit that and they do want him to depart. Because I know every summer we've tried to sell him and he hasn't wanted to go. So maybe it's one of them where it's just like, listen, you're going this year. But I feel like this summer is going to be a massive, massive summer anyway for Liverpool. You look at like Mane and Salah and Firmino all got a year left on the deal this summer. We're going to lose loads of players. Like Milner's going to go. Origi could go. So I do think it's a massive summer. But I like Divock, to be honest. Divock's a cult hero for me. But yeah, I do think it's time to go now. He's not good. He's not a good enough option. When you look at the team City put out against Swindon yesterday, Liverpool, I've got nowhere near that level of depth.
Question from Owen: when's Haaland happening? On FIFA, probably. That's probably the only time that it'll be able to happen. But on James Milner, Matty, I think it's sort of appreciated now that he's had his time at Anfield. He's been demoted to a squad option, and now it's sort of his time to go. He's 36 years old now. 6 months left. He can go and do whatever he wants for the rest of his career.
Yeah, I'm a bit gutted, to be honest with you. Like, I'm not saying Milner should be starting for Liverpool, but he's one of them players who will give you 110% no matter what position he's on, no matter where he plays. Look at that Chelsea game. He was flying side to side, throwing his whole body on the line. I liked having a player. I would have liked to have seen Milner maybe stay on as a coaching role, but the man doesn't need to stop. He's probably going to be like Buffon, who plays past 40. He's an absolute physical beast. So he's probably not going to need to step down. Yeah, I'd like to see him maybe going to like Villa or Leeds and just go full circle with one of his clubs. But he might even go to America for a year. But I would like to see Milner come back into the coaching setup eventually, because someone who's won that much and got that mentality, I strongly believe Milner is one of the reasons Liverpool have been successful in recent years, because we brought someone like Milner in who had won it all by the Champions League, and he brought that mentality into the squad. So it's the right time to leave, but I would like to see him come back eventually as part of the coaching team.
Yeah, I think he's always got a place at Anfield now. When we brought him in, I think people saw it as a bit of like, well, is he there for one last final payday? He was 29 years old, but now we're talking 7 years later, and he's still an integral part of the squad. I think he goes down as a Liverpool legend, Matty. If I'm gonna put it out there,
I think he goes down as one of the greatest free transfers ever. To be honest with you, I like when he comes to Liverpool, I loved him straight away because he said it was his best chance to win the Champions League, and he done it. I've got a lot of respect for him. He's a model professional, and it will be a shame to see him go. But yeah, he's definitely a Liverpool. I've said everyone who won the Champions League and Premier League Liverpool's a legend, even right down to the likes of Divock Origi. So James Milner is definitely a legend for me.
I think also the role that he played in bringing through and nurturing some of our better young talents. I mean, Curtis Jones and Trent Alexander-Arnold coming through with the likes of Milner, Henderson, Adam Lallana, Gini Wijnaldum to look up to. I think that's something that will live on after his time at Anfield.
Definitely. It's a player who's won it all. Like, they're the type of players as a youth you want to come in and train with. You want to pick his brains for knowledge. How's he still performing in the Premier League when he's 36? He's been in the Premier League for what, 20 years, is it nearly? 19, 20 years? He's been
20
playing.
years.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So having that for the youngsters, he's been fantastic. And the fact that when he's been injured, and like the players have had games off, like the League Cups and stuff, he's went to them and sat on the bench to help the young lads. Like, he's a model professional, and like I said, I will be devastated to see him go. But if he feels he can still continue to play, I would never hold him back, because he probably isn't good enough to continue at Liverpool anymore. But then saying that, he was probably in the first half against Chelsea, he was probably our best midfielder. So it's like a catch-22, really. But then obviously more often than not, he has poor performances than good performances. But it will be sad to see him go. But it's probably the right time, and he's 100% a Liverpool legend, 100%.
Yeah, and I think he goes down across the country as people look at him and just think, wow, James Milner, he's a guy who maximised his talent. He wasn't, shall we say, your typical, technically brilliant. He's got a wonderful engine, but he really genuinely maximised every little ounce of his talent by his ultimate professionalism. And he's the greatest example you can have for a professional football player, I think, in this country. But moving on from James Milner, we'll go on to this comment from Clay here. Looking at potential outgoings, we'll go through this list. We've already covered Milner and Origi. I'm going to go to you on Joe Gomez, mate. It's a player who we both, I know everyone totally admires at Liverpool, but he seems to have fallen down the pecking order a little bit. Would it be the right time for potentially a new challenge for Joe Gomez?
Yeah, well, we said this, didn't we, when he had his injury last year? I remember us saying on stream, it's how he comes back from that, because when Virgil done his ACL, Joe Gomez's injury was a hell of a lot worse than Virgil's tearing a tendon behind his knee. Like that's career ending. So the fact he can still even play football, it's remarkable, really. When he has played, he hasn't been that great. The game against Leicester in the League Cup stands out to me massively. I do think it's probably time for a new challenge for him. I wouldn't begrudge him if he had a new challenge, because Konate, I think, is ahead of him 100%, actually. Matip's definitely ahead of him. So he's found himself as the fourth choice centre-half now at Liverpool. So someone like him who's still young, he's still got a lot to give to the game. He has won two of the biggest honours in football. He could then go and use his experience in another side, and someone like Villa or something would probably really benefit from Joe Gomez, and he probably just would benefit from a run of games. But you couldn't take Matip or out of that team, and if you do, you're putting Konate in. And barring two bad injuries to them, he's not going to start in the Premier League, and it is sad, because Gomez was pivotal in our Champions League and Premier League success, in my opinion, and he's been a phenomenal defender for us. But it's just one of them who you'll look back on and think injuries ruined his time at Liverpool. Because if he didn't have that bad injury last year, would we have went and bought someone as good as Konate, maybe? Because Gomez was still young and still had a lot to give.
Exactly.
But that injury is career ending. So I think that pretty much sums it up, really.
Yeah, it is. It is really quite sad. I genuinely think, without the injury last year, we're looking at a player who starts alongside Van Dijk for a long, long time, and it's a real gutting one. And Virgil clearly likes him. That they did their recovery together. It's a real sad one. But then, if you look at it from Joe Gomez's point of view, not a Liverpool point of view, because from a selfish Liverpool point of view, to have Joe Gomez as your fourth choice centre back is brilliant. But if you look at it from Joe Gomez's point of view, it's just like, is he ever going to get ahead of them? No, he's not. And it's just, it's a shame, mate. It really, really is for him. I feel for him.
I feel for him as well, to be honest with you, because I made up Konate comment because he was like a beast, but it is sad for Joe Gomez, because he is a fantastic footballer. He's always had a great attitude, and he is someone who, like I said, he deserves minutes. So would I be annoyed if he chose to leave? Probably not. But I do think if he does leave, we need to bring someone in as a fourth choice. I can't see him and Nat leave, and say in January. But maybe at the end of the year he'll probably go, and that's why I do think it'll be a big summer, because like Clay said, there's a lot of departures who are pretty much nailed on leaving Liverpool this summer.
And there's also a lot of departures that are homegrown, Matty, which is a little bit of an issue, because if we look at that list, 5 of them are. Plus, if you add Nat Phillips in there, that's another one. It's an issue that will haunt Liverpool if they continue to go down the road. But we'll go to Neco Williams now. I think we can all agree that this season he's been a different player than he has been last season. I think he was excellent in periods, but I think this season he's elevated his game to a new level, mate.
Yeah, I think since he had all that hate, it feels as though he's come out with a point to prove. That game against Leicester in the League Cup, it was excellent. He should never be used as a winger like we've seen. But I think Neco Williams is better when he's got five at the back. So he's acting as that right wing back. He does that for Wales. He plays in a five at the back, doesn't he? So, and he's fantastic for Wales. He really is. So if we could get that Neco at Liverpool, he is a good backup. But then again, it's another player I wouldn't begrudge leaving. He's just starting his career out. He's never ever going to get in that starting right back position. Trent is only a few years older than him. So in his whole career, he's not going to want to play understudy for his whole career. Yeah, he might win a lot, but why would you play understudy? And he's never dislodging Trent. He's the best right back in the world. So it's a shame for Neco as well. I do think he's a good option. A lot of our fan base seems to write him off, but he is good. And what more can you expect from someone who's literally going to sit on the bench and only get cup games in a team? And he's been happy to do so. So I do think he'll go. I think it's a disappointment if he goes because we then need to bring someone else in who's going to be prepared to do that. And it's a shame for any youth player coming through as a right back, really, because where are they ever going to get minutes with Trent there?
And that's the thing. I think I said on an Anfield Agenda stream recently, if Neco Williams had somehow could magically go back in time and come through in say 2014, 2015, he would be Liverpool starting right back for a long, long, long time. He didn't. He's now not been afforded the opportunity because there's a player who is 3 years older than him who is far better, and it's not to any fault of his. It's just like we have a player who has come through who is on the level of, the Gerrards, the Owens, the Fowlers of this world, and it is, it's as frustrating as it is for a very, very good player in Neco Williams. I don't think he should be begrudged because Trent is so good.
Yeah, and a lot of people compare him to Trent, and Trent's on like you said, he's on a different level. So comparing him to Trent is mad. Really, he maybe might leave and elevate his career with game time to be not as good as Trent, but up there. But I think I think it will be a shame to see him go. He's another homegrown option. So if we could keep him and make him happy, only getting cup games, we seem to make Costas very happy doing that. So I think he benefits a lot more though from a back five, and I can't see us ever doing that because when you're watching for Wales, he's a different player again. If he was playing how he played for Wales for Liverpool, he probably would start more games. But some players just perform better in different systems, and I think Neco is one of them because for Wales he's brilliant.
And that's the thing because he can also play on the left hand side of defence. And on that side, you got Andy Robertson and Kostas Tsimikas. So it's like it's not fair on him really. And honestly, for the good of his career, I genuinely think he needs to move. Again, from a selfish Liverpool point of view, I want him to stay. But I just want to see him play well. He just seems like a good lad as well, and hopefully he goes on. But Oxlade-Chamberlain, Matt. I mean, like he's got 18 months left on his contract. It's another homegrown option. Will he leave, do you think?
Yeah. I said last year, another player I wouldn't begrudge leaving. The Ox came to Liverpool to play games and play games in the central midfield.
We've got a new visitor. Wait a second, everyone. This is good to see, isn't it? Unreal. We've got Kris with us. How are you, mate?
Nice to see you, lads. How are you doing? Sorry for interrupting there. Please continue.
It's all good. It's all good. It's good to see you. If you don't know Kris, Kris is our resident professional coach, and it does some great tactical analyses. But Kris, I'll go to you straight on the question that we were chatting about with Matty. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain has 18 months on his contract left at Liverpool. How do you think he'll last that 18 months? Do you think he'll get sold beforehand, or do you think he'll be let go on a free, or even given a new deal?
Or the other option, which many players seem to be sticking to these days, of just waiting out to the end of the deal, just waiting it out. Because if they're well paid and they're in a happy place, sometimes it's difficult to get rid of them. Sometimes you want to say to someone like Oxlade-Chamberlain or Origi last season, look, guys, you're not realistically going to be in the first team. You're not realistically going to be challenging if we buy somebody else who's better than our current player in that position, because it knocks people down a level. So what are you going to do? And then a lot of the time they might just say, I'm happy where I am, thanks. You know, I don't know. I don't know what you guys think about that, Chris. Do you think he wants to go?
I mean, if you look at it, how old is he now? 28? Oxlade-Chamberlain?
I want to go back to London.
Maybe. I mean, look, he's winning on and off the field at the end of the day. You can't begrudge the man.
And for that reason, if you think about it, like London is probably better for Perry. It's Perry's career. I think a lot of Little Mixer. It's mad even speaking about Little Mixer on a football stream, but I think that he's better off based in London. So if the Ox moves to London, it's more family time. They've obviously just had a kid and stuff. So I think if a team come up London based, you probably could get rid of the Ox. But like Chris said, if you're not going to be able to sell the Ox to someone in like Spain or Italy or something, because he's just not going to go there.
Do you think though?
Who London based do you think would go for him? Because obviously Arsenal's out the for me personally, I think Arsenal have got a really great project going whereby they're getting young talent through, and they've spent a lot of money on people like Thomas Partey and people like this. Then you've got Chelsea. Well, in my opinion, they won't buy him. I don't think maybe West Ham might be interested.
That'd be the one I'd say, West Ham.
But
yeah, it's maybe Crystal Palace potentially. There's another one.
Fantastic project. I think with their project though, they've got some exciting players coming through Crystal Palace. Yeah. So why would you hamper their development really?
Maybe when Gallagher goes at the end of the season to replace Gallagher.
Yeah, potentially.
Maybe, you know, there's a lot of options for Oxlade-Chamberlain. I genuinely think that he is one of the most sellable assets we've got purely because he's English. We could get an extra probably 5 or 6 million for him because he's English. At the end of the day, maybe more than Naby. I mean, we'll go on to Naby. His contract runs out as well at the same time as Oxlade-Chamberlain's, as Firmino's, as Mane's, and as Salah's. Do you think Chris, that Keita will be afforded a new deal, or do you think it'll be another one, a case of the waiting game?
I think they'll choose one of the two. And I think for me personally, obviously I live abroad, and Keita's seen in a very, especially in Spain, he's seen in a very bright light. He's seen as a player who should have made it but never did due to whatever happened. And the problem is with clubs like Barcelona, they're willing to forget absolute failures such as Dembele, who's played about 4 games in 4 years, and then go out and splash money on Keita and say, yeah, but this one will be different. And that happens a lot here. So I think the Keita's a very... I agree that the Ox is a saleable asset, but I think the Keita's a very saleable asset. Moving forward with Jones and Elliott moving into that midfield and being regular rotations, realistically, you could probably get rid of the both of them and then have 2 homegrown players that slot right in for them. And I think that's actually what I believe is the long-term idea anyhow, where they're going to get rid of those 2 and then they're going to go homegrown nations. And then after that, they can go and buy a Haaland without any thinking of any squad issues, without any problems.
And don't forget Tyler Morton as well. I mean, Tyler Morton has started this season exceptionally. I think we'll talk about it with Matty. Tyler Morton, he'll probably start tomorrow. What's really impressed me is that he hasn't really stood out, but you haven't noticed that he's been there, which is kind of a good thing for the role that he plays.
Yeah, I think he's fantastic. I remember at the Leicester game, I was saying to my brother, I genuinely believe he's the next product of the academy. We've seen Trent and Kessie come through. I wouldn't class Elliott as that because we bought him late, but I genuinely believe Morton's the next one who is going to get regular minutes in the first team. I think he had a baptism of fire in that Spurs game when he started that instead of Fabinho, but he's only going to learn from that. That would have done the wealth of experience as a young player playing that game in the Premier League. So I think he is going to be here for the foreseeable. He's a fantastic backup option to Fabinho. And I really like him. I like how he plays on the pitch. I like his work ethic on the pitch. He's always chasing. It's what you want in the Liverpool side. And it shows that our youth teams are instilled the same philosophies as what Jurgen wants from an early age, because he's just come in and slotted seamlessly, really.
Definitely. I think this is a good comment with that. He does need to bulk up a little bit. I think
Yeah.
I think you've seen with Trent the body transformation that he's gone on has aided him to become a better player. Do you agree with that, Kris? Do you think Morton could go on to be more of a physical presence in midfield alongside his obvious technical quality?
I mean, when it comes to footballers and physicality, I always remember the stories of the doctor at Barcelona, who was actually the same doctor who worked for Lance Armstrong notoriously. And, some suspicious things might have been going on there, some allegations that we won't go into. So I think it's if we look at Goretzka at Bayern, who was as skinny as a couple of baguettes and then comes out the next year looking incredible. I had posters of him on my wall. So we're really, I think when physicality comes in, you give the lad a few chicken legs, and then all of a sudden he'll come out a lot bigger. I think the most important thing with Morton is that now we're really playing with a double pivot system where Thiago's sticking back and they're controlling the game more. And you can see when Thiago's not in the game, obviously, we've got Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain. It just goes mad. It goes insane. You see with Milner the other day, what they were trying to do is play a double pivot. So if you put Morton next to somebody else who can guide him through a game, a McAllister next to a Gerrard, just talking through him, the famous squeeze Stevie, you always used to shout that on the pitch. I can see that really happening. I can see you both having a fantastic point. But I would say, if he's expected to just play alone in a single pivot, that's a hell of a job for a player to go for the very young. And we have seen one or two players in Liverpool's history just be broken by the pressure. So I wouldn't want to put too much pressure on him.
No, absolutely. A couple of questions in here. Who's going to be our manager? Hopefully, it'll be Jurgen Klopp if he gives us some negative lateral flows. And who will be our attack? The beauty is we don't have a clue what's happening, so we don't know who's going to be playing tomorrow, but we will be here with Louis, who's going to do the watch along. Talking about transfer.
Kay Gordon will play. I think
Kay Gordon.
I think he's someone who probably will play. Because there's nobody else really to play. I think you might see him start, which I'm excited to see that because there's a lot of hype around him. I haven't seen much of him, so I'm excited to see if he does play, how he performs, really.
Quick question. Do we think that Origi might be pulling a Coutinho behind the scenes? Now, the reason I asked that is because he went missing for a few weeks, injury, then COVID, and so on. And it's obvious there are a couple of teams that are interested in him, but at the moment, Liverpool aren't looking to get rid of him. If he doesn't play, is that a sign that he's actually saying, I want to leave, and Liverpool are waiting for a big bid? What?
I don't know. It's a difficult one, isn't it, with Divock? Because some things have come out and said that he's injured. Some things have come out and said he's got COVID. I don't see him the kind of guy from the way that he's portrayed to be the kind of guy to push for a move. Like he just seems sort of happy in his own little planet, Divock, if you know what I mean. And at the end of the day, I just don't see it. I think he'll be happy to leave, and I think Jurgen Klopp would be happy to let him leave, but I don't think he'd be pushing for it.
Okay, well, that's okay.
What about you, mate?
I don't know. I have no idea. We are the transfer room, so I mean, I am thinking. I am a little conspiracy in the back of my head, thinking maybe Newcastle put in a 40 million bid.
I'd drive to Newcastle for 40 mil.
I'd be in the car with you, and we'd all be thinking the entire way. But the point is that if Liverpool haven't lined up another striker, they could accept the 40 million. But right now, when we don't have players, it wouldn't make any sense.
I mean, I play Milner up top. If Origi was getting sold for 40 million, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether we have no one else. Like, we're never getting that money again. We'll just get in the car, fellas. We're talking about this one. We got a rumor today came out of, I can't actually remember the source. I wrote the article. That's really bad. Kessie, obviously leaving at the end of the season. Engine of a midfielder. Scored 13 goals in Serie A last season. Available on a free transfer. Manchester City, Manchester United, and Liverpool all very, very much interested. Matty, from what you've seen, would you be a fan of Franck Kessie come to Anfield?
Very, very minimal that I have seen. I think he is a fantastic player. So yeah, I wouldn't mind him coming to Anfield. He'd be a free as well. So it's the only thing would be his wages. Then I don't think he's on mad money at AC Milan either. So he's probably not going to demand mad money at Liverpool. It makes perfect sense to bring him in, but then sense and FSG doesn't seem to go in the same sentence. So I don't know.
Kris, I mean, I know you've made some great comments on our midfield situation and what we need. Is Franck Kessie that?
To put it short, in my opinion, yes. Yes, he brings energy, he brings goals, he brings a lot of control as well. He's been playing alongside Tonelli, who's an incredible talent who all of Europe want, basically. And Milan have been playing some good football, but I would say that it's a big step up. It's a big step up. He would need time to acclimatise, just like every single player we buy does. We sit them on the bench for about 6 months and then say we'll see you, and we'll see you once you've passed Christmas and you've got to know the locals. I do think he's a fantastic player. I think it's very Liverpool-like to go after somebody who's on a free of that level. He ticks all the boxes, but when he's got everybody to choose from and he could walk into a Manchester United midfield with his eyes closed, it's going to be difficult, really. It's going to be a challenge to get him in.
It's a difficult one, but I would say if Kessie came in, he would probably get in our first choice midfield. If I think obviously Thiago and Fabinho are 100%, but then you have a look and then you think Thiago's injury prone. I'll probably get in there. Henderson Henderson, in my opinion, is declining a little bit. I mean, his minutes will need to decline. Keita will probably be there, but he might leave. He's definitely better than Oxlade-Chamberlain. I love Ox. I don't know. Does he, Matty? If he came in the summer, would he not already be a nailed-on first choice?
I don't know, because I can't see us. He's very much of a CDM, really, isn't he? So it mean that we'd be playing
He can play tonight.
As effective as he does in the holding for AC Milan, though. That's all I'm thinking, because he's so effective in that holding role. I can't see us playing with two older midfielders. And that's probably the way you might look at it as well. You might think, am I going to dislodge Fabinho, who I genuinely believe is the best holding midfielder in the world? I'd love him to come, though. I think he's unbelievable option. But then again, it's like, how much is the hamper Morton's development if he was coming in as a holding midfielder? But if he was playing as the 8, then yeah, I'd say he probably would walk into the midfield. And maybe he ties us over for that year till Bellingham comes as well. So,
what would you say, Kris? Would he get in your, if it came down to it, if you had to play a Champions League final, they're all settled in 100%? Would Franck Kessie get in your Liverpool midfield?
No,
out of all the options,
no, because if we. From what we've seen, the tactical evolution of Klopp, he's always tried to go in the direction of a 4-2-3-1. He tried to buy Fekir. He tried to buy the Brazilian lad, Teixeira. He's always wanted. They tried to get in Gota as well, who's a dedicated attacking midfielder just in front of two pivots. They've always wanted to go in that direction. And at the beginning of the season, they were actually going in that direction with Elliott. But instead of playing in front of the two pivots, Elliott was just playing to the side. So the thing is that you're not gonna move Fabinho, and unless he's injured, which I do agree with you, Kris, you're not gonna move Thiago. So that leaves the third space, which is the creative player, right? That's your Fekir, that's your Teixeira, that's your Gota, and I can continue with players like that. That's your Elliott. Those creative players who are difficult to mark. And Kessie doesn't fall in that category. And the days of the Brexit midfield they're probably gone, to be honest, thankfully. Hey, hello. So I don't think he gets in the first line. Do I think he's a fantastic rotation player who gets lots and lots of minutes? Yes. Does he play 39 games a season without any problems? Is he a player you want in your squad? Absolutely no doubt, because we all know that James Milner cannot do what he used to do. And Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain run around like headless chickens, unfortunately.
Absolutely. I mean, we spoke about Milner earlier and how he's set to leave the club at the end of the season. How big of a miss do you think he'll be, Chris?
It's huge. You can't replace that in the dressing room. I've been in so many dressing rooms. I've been in professional dressing rooms. I've went to see Bielsa's training in person. I've been to Rafa Benitez's training sessions in person. You can't underestimate having someone with a head on their shoulders in the changing room to tell someone like Elliot, wind it down, shut up, and pass the ball 5 yards. It makes a big difference because the manager can't say it sometimes. And it makes a huge difference just to have him in the room. Just to have him in the room, just to say, shut up, or do this, or hey, it's not about you. So I think that's where it'll most be missed. He won't be missed on the pitch, really. I mean, I think me and Matty would say that he's probably not the player he was. But, you know, it's more for what he brings to the club. Because I don't know about you guys, but at times I think that Milner might be the real captain of that dressing room.
Yeah. I mean, maybe. I mean,
maybe
if you look at it,
maybe it's
there's a lot of captains in there. I think there's a lot of captains. I mean, you've got leaders all over. I think you got Virgil, obviously. You got Henderson. You've got Milner. You've got Mo Salah. Even the likes, of Wijnaldum when he was there. Keita's international captain. Robertson is an international captain. There's a lot of them there, and I'd say he's a massive miss. And I'm surprised. Obviously he clearly feels like he can carry on his playing career. What sort of club, Matty, do you think he will end up at?
No, James Milner. It'll be someone in the Prem. he's just a freak, isn't he? Naturally, you'd probably say somewhere like the MLS or something like that as he starts to wind down and maybe enjoy a bit of sun and stuff. But God knows.
I don't see that with Milner, though. I don't see him being a lifestyle merchant. I see him being a man who wants to play at the highest level he can for the longest time he can. And he's played at the highest level. I mean, he's won everything there is to win. So I just think he'll probably stay in the Premier League somewhere. Chris, what do you think?
Well, there was a lot of rumours about him going to Leeds, but unfortunately he wouldn't be able to man-mark the way Leeds play. He just wouldn't be able to do it. Not because of his stamina, just his acceleration. Leeds stick to people like Glue, and Bielsa's got this mad idea that we basically run ourselves into the floor by January. So I don't think he could go to Leeds. That's the dream. Could he go to someone like Aston Villa, and do the McAllister role for Gerrard for a year? I don't see why not. Because if I was Gerrard, I'd be looking at him going, Matty's having a beer. Hey, Matty, come on, mate. That is...
The dog's going mad.
You've just broken a fourth wall, mate. We didn't know that was a door.
Dog's gone mad.
Matty's dog's called Virgil.
I think he could go to Aston Villa, do a good job of basically bringing a lot of great energy onto the pitch and be another sort of McAllister figure. And I think Gerrard's never forgot that. So I quietly would put 10 quid on him going to Aston Villa at the end of the year. It's already been there, so maybe.
Yeah. And I mean, they've got some great midfield talents coming through in Jacob Ramsey and Chukwuemeka. And they're also all around the age that Gerrard was when McAllister was there. And I think Gerrard would be like, hang on a second, James Milner could be what McAllister was to me, right?
Yeah, 100%. That, like, thinking of it like that, it's a very smart move. And it seems like Gerrard's a very smart manager as well. So I wouldn't rule it out myself. So it's a very good point from Chris.
Yeah. Final transfer news before we close up. Luis Diaz is a player who consistently is getting linked with Liverpool day after day after day. Chris, Thoughts on him, and how much do you think he would command?
Well, Luis Diaz would be a very good backup option. He is 25. He's in that bracket where we usually buy, that sort of bracket from 23 to 26, just before they go big time, so to speak. Now, here's the thing. Mane scored a hat-trick at Southampton in something like 3 minutes, right? Salah was scoring back post goals and poachers goals from really fantastic second late entry runs for Roma. Have they seen something that Diaz does that we can't see? Because that tends to be the thing. They got Jota and everyone was like, we're going to go and buy. I can't remember who we were linked with. We were heavily linked with another player. And then in the end, we just bought Jota.
Oh, was it Ismail Assar?
It was Saw, yeah. It was Saw. But what they tend to do is they tend to do the old Mississippi shuffle. Look one way and then go the other way. So are they making us look one way before they just go into another player and go, we're gonna buy this guy, but we'll give you 40 million? Maybe. Or is Diaz doing something that none of us can see? Because he looks good, but does he look 60, 70 million January good? I don't know. And I'm really sorry to come and piss on the fire.
Now, to be fair, when I done that analysis video of him, I haven't seen much of him, but his stats aren't the best either, to be honest. Like, when I'm seeing reports of 70 mil, I'm thinking, that's a lot of money for... The stats paint the picture that he's a very good dribbler. That's about it. And maybe it is a smokescreen because we've seen that with Jota. It was Saw and Werner as the smokescreens, and Werner was linked heavily. Pretty much, it was like everyone was saying it was a done deal, and then we go and get Saw. I'd like to see Luis Diaz as a smokescreen for Rafinha or something, to be honest with you.
I think Rafinha all depends on how Leeds do, if I'm being honest, and how much they can charge. Because where are they in the table now? 15th or 16th? Rafinha scored, I think, 45% of their goals. Yeah, which is just ridiculous levels of reliance. But yeah, who knows? But yeah, we'll close this off. We started it off with the Shrewsbury game. We'll close it off with the Shrewsbury game, Kris. How excited are you to see some new faces, some different young players? Because as we said, we don't even know who is going to play.
I think that's the exciting thing, isn't it? We could have the medical man playing left back, physio playing left back, sports scientist at centre back, and Mona the nutritionist just coming in and deploying centre forward position and connecting the play. I don't know. I think it's really interesting. I think it's cool. And I think that it's also, for me as well, it's actually what cup competitions are supposed to be. I like coming up against Boa Vista or someone like that. I'm thinking, sorry, who are you? Like, what's going on? What colour's your kit? Those type of things are actually fun and exciting. So yeah, I'd love to see a random kid pop up tomorrow, bag a goal, and celebrate like he's just won the Champions League final.
Yeah. And yeah, we've obviously had the experience of Shrewsbury before with kids and we won. So why the hell can't it happen again? Am I right, Matty?
Yeah, the kids done better than the first team when we played Shrewsbury last time. We played quite a strong lineup when we played Shrewsbury away, and they got the replay at Anfield, and we played a lot of kids, and we done the job. I think even if there wasn't COVID, and even if there wasn't AFCON and stuff like that, you'd probably see majority of the kids come up against Shrewsbury anyway with a mixture of some experience. But I do think because obviously the kids game got called off as well, I do think maybe some of them have got COVID. So we might see some fresh face, like you said. Musialowski is one who I'm really looking forward to seeing because the hype behind him is massive. I haven't seen much of him, if anything. I'm looking forward to seeing people like Kate Gordon because, again, the hype around him. Remember Wayne Rooney fuming that we got him last summer or the summer before. So players like that, we've got all this hype around them. Tomorrow's the time to go and stamp a name for themselves. Like, if they sell out Anfield, the amount of fans there who are going to be able to see them perform. If they put a good performance on, then fans will start calling for them to get more minutes, etc., in cup games. So it's a good opportunity for the kids. I do think we'll probably ease past them though, just because the pure pull of the Anfield crowd. And to be fair, when the kids do play, the crowd seems to get behind them a lot more because they want them to do well. Because it's like a fan on the pitch, really, isn't it, when they're coming from the academy?
Yeah, 100%. But anyway, thank you very much to Matty and to Kris for coming on to the stream. We will be back tomorrow for the watch along, so it's going to be fantastic with Louis. That is happening not on Anfield Agenda tomorrow. There's nothing going on there. It's only on LFC Transfer Room, so make sure you check that out. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. We're doing really well. Get us to 2K before the end of the month. That'd be insane. And recommend us to all your friends and your family, because why wouldn't you do that? Subscribe on your dog's account as well. But we will catch you in the next episode of the Transfer Central. And I've been Kris.